I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding about that. Like, we've never been intimate. What's going on, beautiful people? Asia Mac, I'm back. Welcome to It Was Written the Project. Over here, embracing vulnerability, sharing my story, encouraging you guys, of course, to do the same thing, or, to just, if you just want to watch, listen, look at me do it, that's fine too. Either way, welcome. Happy Wednesday, episode 21 today, part 2 of Love Loss, which, if you guys don't know, is a part of a new series that I started called The Shame Game, which this series is a series where I share stories that I'm not too proud of, stories that, I was going to say that not so much that I'm ashamed of currently, but stories that I've shamed myself for, and definitely that I have been or that I was ashamed of, like, in the moment, I guess. So episode 20 I shared 2 Wednesdays ago, and this is part 2 to that episode, and it's entitled Love Lost Part 1, obviously. And it's the story of when I cheated on my very first boyfriend, and how that affected and condemned me for so many years, to the point where I couldn't date. I didn't feel deserving of love, and really thought like God was punishing me for what I had done. So, good episode. If you haven't seen that episode, abort this mission and get into that one first. Otherwise, let's get into this. So if you did see that episode, you know that I explain how we met, what led to our demise. We broke up. If you want to call it that, he really just left me. But we broke up in October 2007. But we are actually really good friends today, believe it or not. And I don't really know at what point, like what year, we kind of like got back into communication. Probably, I want to say at the earliest, 2009. I just know that I remember taking a road trip to Atlanta with a girlfriend of mine, and he was living down south. He wasn't living in Georgia though, but he drove to Georgia to meet up with me and hang out. And I think that was like the very first time that we had seen each other and like gotten together since the breakup in 2007. So since then, since that Atlanta encounter, we actually saw each other a lot. When you consider two people who live in two totally different states, we're not together, there was never like a conversation of reconciliation, although it was in the back of my mind, for being honest. And we're exes. I think about it now and I'm like, yo, we saw each other often for all those factors to be considered. Now, I can't really give like a specific time or year for all of these like encounters, but I know that he came to Detroit to visit one year. I think maybe like 2011-ish. He came for Thanksgiving. I went to Atlanta to go. Actually, his sister and I were like in communication, like tough then. And I went to go. We made like a thing, like I'm gonna come visit, yada yada yada. So I went to go visit her, but I was still kind of like, yo, what's up with you? So I went to go visit both of them. So that happened. He moved to New York, and went to go visit him in New York. And no, I absolutely did not move to New York for him. Okay. Again, there was never ever like a talk of like us getting back together. I'm not sure why we saw each other this much, but when I did move to New York, however, he was there to say what's up, greet me like a friendly neighbor, and But when I moved to New York, there was only just like a handful of times that I actually like saw him and we hung out. We didn't hang out that often when I actually moved to New York. I was in New York for almost 4 years. Um, and we've probably only seen each other hung out 10 to 12 times, if that, in the 4 years that I was in New York. But um, when we did, never awkward, always just chill. Besides the time, there was a time, let's be transparent. There was a time when I started to develop feelings again, and I wanted to see what could be, if anything could be, but again, it was never a conversation. It never happened. And believe it or not, like with all the times that we've seen one another, flying to different states, living in the same state at one point, we have never been intimate. Never even kissed since 2007, when we were together. Um, and there were opportunities for him to try it, or for me to try him. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding about that. Like, we've never been intimate, or we haven't been intimate since 2007. I'm not kidding about that. But about, as far as I know, he's dated a few people, like, during that time, obviously. But he wasn't thinking about me. I was just like the homie, I guess. Even as the homie though, one thing that I've always wondered was how he was able to move on, move forward, and even like build this new relationship with me without having a conversation about like what was. You know what I mean? Like, I think that I understand, um, like, if we never reconnected, if we just never talked ever again, like, there would never be, he could just move on and not ask the questions. But me being in your face and knowing exactly, I mean, we went from being together almost 3 years. I cheated. Um, then not being in communication for 2 years or almost 2 years, and then reconnecting and slowly building this friendship. And the past was just never ever spoken of. And maybe I'm a crazy person, because most people would be like, thank God he ain't asking me no questions. But I don't know. I know that in the like in the beginning stages of us reconnecting, I was really trying to like prove myself and my character. Like, I really wanted him to know that I was sorry for everything, and that was probably part of the reason why I wanted us to try again, because I wanted to like redeem myself, I guess, in some way. I just always wondered, even though we were cool, I always wondered like how he looked at me, how everything had affected him, and like how he was able to forgive me, how it was that we even like got to this point. Um, I don't know if it's just me or if it's just being a woman. I like to have closure, and I want to know why. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have an understanding, and I also want to give an understanding. And he seemingly just, that didn't matter to him. I don't know. I think for the most part, a lot of men, they just look at the facts. They're like, this is what happened. That's all I need to know. I understand that. I understand what happened. And I think that was his point of view, because everything just went unspoken. We never asked any questions. We just moved on like nothing ever happened, until now. You guys, like, over 10 years later. Remember, I told you last week that I had something special planned for this episode. Um, and I couldn't really put it out until like I got everything together. But for the first time ever, Nails himself is gonna answer unanswered questions. And I'm nervous. I am so nervous to hear his point of view, what he has to say. But I'm excited at the same time. And I just want to say, let me put this disclaimer out. He and I are friends, like legitimate friends. So this is not about bringing up past hurt, past trauma, just like digging into the past. It's not about that. When he found out that I was doing It Was Written project, which he found out months ago, I told him, the vision that I had for our story, and he was more than happy to share his point of view. He was more than happy to support, and this is literally like something that he doesn't do. He doesn't like being in front of the camera. He doesn't like pictures, but he just he wanted to support. And I think that maybe it's also like healing and freeing for him as well to get out his point of view, which he never has done before. So I just want to put that out there. He and I are cool. He just wanted to support, and I'm like super appreciative of that. So I want to invite you guys definitely to join me next week. He is going to be my guest, not physically, but he will be here answering some questions that honestly I haven't seen. I don't know how I'm going to react because I haven't seen or heard like the answers to these questions either. I'm probably going to need a glass of wine. Probably going to need a little cocktail. I am not going to lie. I saw some of what he said. Like, I didn't have the volume up, but I could see like his lips, and I was like, yo, just like by his demeanor, I was like, he is not about to hold anything back. He is probably about to let me have it. Okay, so I'm nervous, but I'm excited. I'm excited for him to share his story. So if you're interested, be back next week. He'll be here again, not physically, but he'll be sharing his story. Continue to embrace vulnerability, continue to share your story, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching.